Hey everyone, welcome to another English grammar class. Today we'll be doing nouns of standard 8, as this is a very common chapter. This is something that we have studied for as long as you have studied grammar. So we'll not waste a lot of time here, and we'll try to finish up the chapter as soon as we can. I'll just give you a quick recap of what we have learned. So, what are nouns? Nouns are basically names assigned to anything in particular. So these can be the names of a thing, or we can call name noun as the name of a place, a person, a quality, or an idea. So basically, whatever name you assign to any object around you, we call that thing a noun. So we categorize nouns into these four types. The first one is the proper noun. Proper noun is the name which is assigned to any particular person or any particular place or any particular thing, etc. Like for example, your name is a proper noun. Like let us say Sneha or Ashish, or the city you live in, or the apartment you live in. The name of the apartment or the name of the city you live in. All of these are proper nouns. Okay, and one more thing, a proper noun always usually begins with a capital letter. Okay, then we have common nouns. Common nouns are names of, these are names for a particular category or a particular type of object, or we can say people or things or etc. Like for example, similar type of a name which is given for similar types of objects. Like for example, an object which kind of looks like this. It is usually red in color and it is used for building houses. We call this thing as a brick. Okay, not this thing. Then we call this thing as a brick, right? So brick is a name which is given for similar objects, right? Okay. Then we have collective nouns. Okay, examples of common nouns are like man, okay, and woman. See, these are, when I say man, I am referring to a group of animals, or we can say, yeah, human beings are animals. They have similar attributes, similar qualities. Men have similar qualities that distinguish them from other animals. Same thing goes for horse or goat or whatever. Then we have collective nouns. Collective nouns, these are names assigned to a group of objects or persons or animals or whatever. See, when we have a group of men or women in one place, we can call them people, or a group of players, we call it a team, or a huge number of people residing in a particular geographical area, we call that as a nation, or a herd is a group of cattle, I guess. Similarly, swarm is a group of bees. So that's what is collective noun. Then we have material nouns. These are words which refer to substances or materials, like daily objects that we use, non-living abiotic components, so yeah, like sugar, water, etc. Okay, then the fifth one is abstract nouns. Abstract nouns are, these are names associated with qualities or ideas or feelings in particular. Okay, things that are not tangible, means the things, objects that cannot be touched. Like for example, beauty of somebody cannot be touched. It is a state. Or poverty, which is also a state. Or knowledge, it is something that cannot be touched, but it is something that can be experienced, something that can be felt. Alright. Then we have abstract nouns. These are categorized into two categories. First one is attributive nouns, and the second one is verbal nouns. So what are attributive nouns? Attributive nouns are, these are names of attributes, means qualities, right? So these are nouns that express qualities, and the distinction in between attributive nouns and verbal nouns is that attributive nouns are formed from adjectives and nouns, while verbal nouns, as the name suggests, it is formed from verbs. Okay, so when we make small changes to adjectives and nouns, like for example, the word poor, which is an adjective, and I make small change to it, I get poverty, which is an attributive noun. Or if I make small change to the word night, which is a noun, I get knighthood. Okay, these are attributive nouns. Verbal nouns are formed by adding an inflection. Inflection means these are small changes which are done to a particular word. Like when we make a small change to a verb, like for example, we add er or ing to examine, it becomes examiner, right? So examine is or examine, it is a verb, and examiner, it is a verbal noun. Alright, so here you need to make a column, you need to make 5 columns of proper, common, collective, material and abstract, and you need to list out the words which will go into each category. Next we'll be learning how do we form abstract nouns from adjectives and verbs. Okay, see, abstract nouns can be formed from either adjectives or verbs by adding suffixes to them. So suffixes are, letters or groups of letters which are added to the end of a word. Okay. So here we had learnt above that when we form an abstract noun from an adjective, we call that an attributive noun. So how do you form an attributive noun? You add these suffixes ness, ity, y, and dum. Like for example, when you add kind, which is an adjective, you add ness to it, it becomes kindness, which is an attributive noun. Same thing goes for honest, why honesty, like that. Then verbal nouns again, when you add some suffix to a verb, you get a verbal noun. Like act, which is a verb, you add ion or you add ment, then you get action. Like act, ion, action, or discourage, ment, discouragement. Okay. So using what we learned above, well, I suggest you to try doing this one. Like for example, approve, you add al, approval, assure, assurance, save, safe, like that. Okay. Next we'll go to something again we have learned previously, that is countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Countable nouns are nouns which can be counted. These are words, these are basically nouns which can be counted. I don't have any other words for them. So like for example, cup or man or cat or chair, these are objects or animals or whatever, these can be counted. Okay, so their plurals can be written like cups, or the plural of man is men, or the plural of cat is cats, like that. So the one thing that we need to learn here is that with countable nouns we can use indefinite articles a or an. Okay, so how does this work? Like for example, I want to refer to one cup, so I can say a cup, right? So a cup is a countable noun, that's why I'm able to use a cup. But if I say like sugar, I cannot use a sugar, right? That will be just wrong. Okay? So what we write with countable nouns, we can use indefinite articles a and an. Like a cow is a domestic animal, like that. Then the next thing is uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns are usually substances, or they are ideas or concepts which we cannot count, right? Like for example, sugar, bread, these are substances that cannot be counted, or milk. And like feelings like love, hatred, these are also feelings that cannot be counted. Money, wealth, right? These cannot be counted. Electricity. Okay. So usually we do not we cannot use indefinite articles like a or an with uncountable nouns. Okay, right. One more thing, right? We cannot use indefinite articles with uncountable nouns, but we can make small changes to that thing, and we can add an indefinite article or a definite article. Like for example, if I say information, information is an uncountable noun, I cannot say an information, but I can say a piece of information. See, I made small changes to it, and thus now I can use an indefinite article here. Okay, so based on what I learned here, try doing this exercise. Now the last thing that we're going to learn is cases. So what exactly are cases? Cases tells us the property of a noun or pronoun which tells us what role it plays in a sentence. To put it more simply, see, in a in a sentence there can be multiple nouns. Like for example, look at this sentence: Wasim bought ice cream for Nimi. So as you can see that there are three nouns here. Okay, and now all these three nouns, they perform different roles in the sentence. Like for example, Wasim, it is the subject in the sentence, but it is about whom the sentence is about. So we can say that Wasim is the subject, so we can say that Wasim is in the subjective case, or we can also say that Wasim is in the nominative case. Okay, now we look at the second noun, ice cream, right? So the subject performs an action on this. We'll come here. Okay, the subject performs an action on this noun. Wasim bought ice cream. Wasim ने ice cream खरीदा. So we can say that this noun is in the objective case. Because this is the object, we can say that it is in the objective case, or it is also called as accusative case. Then we have another noun which is Nimi. Now this third noun Nimi, the action done by the subject on the direct object is for this object. मतलब वजीम ने आइसक्रीम खरीदा निमी के लिए. See, it is not directly dependent on Wasim, but it is indirectly dependent on Wasim. So we can call that this is in the dative case. Okay, like I will give you another example because this is a little bit tough to understand. Like for example, I will say that let us say Rihan went to the market to purchase bread. So here in this case, Rihan is a noun, market is also a noun, and bread is also a noun. So here Rihan will be in the subjective case or nominative case, because Rihan is the subject. It is about whom the sentence is about. Now Rihan कहाँ गया? Market गया. So market is this second noun, or it is the direct object. Rihan went to the market. So this noun was absolutely necessary for the first word to make sense. So we can say that market will be the accusative or the objective case. Then I will say that I gave some extra information. Why did he go to the market? He went to the market. Rihan went to the market to buy bread. Now bread is the third noun, which does not have any, it does not have any primary function. It is just an indirect object. So we can call that bread is in the dative case. Okay? So basically, whenever there are three nouns and the first noun does work on the second noun and the third noun is just there, we can call that the third noun is in the dative case. With a few more examples, you'll understand this a little bit better. Okay. Now the fourth one is an easy one. We call that genitive case or the possessive case. Possessive case means, like for example, if there is an apostrophe given with the subject which tells to whom the object belongs to, we call that as the possessive case. Possessive matlab this belongs to whom. Like example, देखो Mohan's book is with me. तो Mohan apostrophe s. So we will call that Mohan's is a possessive case. If I say that Neha's computer is broken, so Neha apostrophe s we can call as possessive case. If I say like Ritesh's phone is new, that means Ritesh apostrophe s, then we can say that Ritesh apostrophe s is in possessive case. Okay? On the basis of what I learned here, you need to try doing this exercise. Try writing the case. Let me do one or two for you so that you can understand better. Like see, Ravi Shankar plays the sitar. Ravi Shankar is highlighted and sitar is highlighted. Both are nouns. Since Ravi Shankar is in the place of the subject, we can say that Ravi Shankar is in the subjective case, and sitar is in the last, or it is the direct object. So I'll say that this is in the objective case or accusative case. Then again, Sidhu brought you this cassette. So here Sidhu is not highlighted at all, as you can see. This is the nominative case, but we don't need to know that. You मतलब किसके लिए सिद्धू ने कैसेट लाया? तुम्हारे लिए. You is the objective case, and this cassette, this is the indirect object, and we call this as the dative case. ठीक है? Again, we spoke for hours together. Super simple. We is nominative case as it is the subject, like that. So kindly try doing this, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Well, thank you for listening so patiently, and I hope you understood something today. Thank you very much.